Aha, yeah. Let's see if you can hear me. It looks good. Alright, it works. Gotta get the lighting right. This is good. Yeah, we got, I can see. So yeah, Will Hallish, man. So what was I talking about? So I'm gonna try to do like a 15-minute video today, because it's good to live and explore reality. So you know, big thing I want to talk about today is like how I did a video on YouTube called Biotech Designer for June 21st, 2020. That was a summer solstice grand awakening for me. I mean, I really didn't feel like I was at a point in my life where I had to lie for much. You know, I was just in a weird extortion trap in this building at Village Mall, Kew Gardens. It was just a fucking satanic little temple. The supers are just, it's like a gay super cult of like men that have abusive relationships with women, and they have like trauma issues, but they abuse other heterosexuals, and they don't want to see black fatherhood, black education, black, you know, litany in terms of how we deal with the law. When the cops basically rolled up on me today for basically scratching my balls on a bench in a park, and they basically threatened to arrest me for this. And I marveled at it. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, as if any of this behavior really warrants this. And what I want to know is who's calling the police, you know, because maybe I should be living in that person's house, you know, because what's it like to basically earn awards at BioWare and get shot in every state you went to study and get educated, and come back to New York, people tell you you're just a broken homeless hobo, we don't fuck with you. We'd rather see you dead or in a prison cell, or holding down bullets for our bankruptcy or our crushed cookies and our tears, and maybe just let you waste your life in squalor on Medicaid and drugs that are trying to kill you, basically rough you up and shoot you anytime you go somewhere where nobody knows where you're at. And that's basically what the fuck it is. You know, we don't really fuck with y'all. You don't really have educational skills. So I'm going to talk about a lot of the law of attraction and manifestation, where we're at in terms of energy, because I think people don't know where they're trying to go in life. You know, in terms of like what's a real goal, what's a parapet, what's a plateau of skills, or just emotional resolution. That's an important term, emotional resolution. That's part of the arcane body. We'll talk about that. About how to make things make sense for you at any point in life. What are you trying to be right now? And whenever there's restriction in your life, when you feel like there's a level you want to get to and you're not there, you got to analyze what that obstacle is. You know, that's when you bring the Ganeshan, that removal energy that takes your problems away, takes the things that are wrong out and away, and gives you a formula or an equation on consent or your best version of reality that doesn't hurt you, but it still gives you the things you want. And that's all it is. You have to be in that middle zone, being able to enjoy life and still dabble in it, but not get yourself hurt or those around you hurt. In my last video, I talked about selfishness, abusing yourself and then abusing others. You know, so I'll talk about that too. But anyway, so let me kind of go back, because it's already kind of like about almost 3 minutes in this video, and I feel like really learning things and distributing education and knowledge is the real goal of what we do every day. When we speak, when we talk, when we consent. If you feel the energy around you is not right, and if it's falling behind, you may want to put a little building block into place, put a brick where it should be, or a puzzle piece there, and say, hey, this is what you're missing, you know? So I'm going to talk about how to get there. So there's different levels of intelligence to the order of your personal existence, your distinct self, right? So when I mean the distinct self, I mean it's a part of you that has an identity. It extends out of you, everything from the corporations, your reputations, the work you've done, what people expect from you, versus things that are operating in your name right now. Work people do for you, things that people support you with, and then sometimes as you're building things with your community, people around you are trying to break it down, but we're going to talk about that, right? Because I noticed how Drew Ali always talked about how communities are going to fall apart around you, and you know, you may have to kind of analyze your wherewithal and your position within that, even when you can't see it all the time. You have to figure out why things are falling apart, so we can contextualize that, because I've seen a lot of violence and dishonesty and abuse in my tribe, and I find people on the last days of their career, they never really have real work, they scam everything around them, and they abuse, you know, even their own families. They have felonies against their relatives, and they'll lie to the people in their community about it. So that's a level of insecurity and self-distortion that promotes disease within yourself, and that's what we want to get rid of, the rhythmic dissension, right? So I'm going to start off with these two principles. First, you need rhythmic ascension or rhythmic decline. You need to know whether you're evolving up, whether things are getting better to a state of ease, relaxation, idealness, where things feel good, or you want to know if things are declining. Is your life getting worse? Are things falling apart? Are you falling out relationships? Did you have to lie for an abuse or a crime? You know, are you continuously abusing things because you feel like you're tangled up and the lie's getting you there? And that's why I'm saying, once your ego needs props, things that are making you sick, but that you still feel you need, things like even lies, abuses, even tobaccos like this, or addictions that just don't ever really resolve you, but you feel like you always keep coming around. And that's kind of the thing, is that you need things in your life that only make you feel better, that resolve your best self, right? So there's rhythmic ascension, things getting better all the time, and you feel like you have a reason to have a goal and you want to get there for a reason. And that can start as simple as a hope or an aspiration to really a full-fledged plan of everything I'm going to do. The better your plans are, the people that have really good plans, they execute them with extraordinary skill. They get things done with haste and effectiveness. They don't ever feel like they're behind on what they're trying to accomplish. They know that there's an easy way to do everything, from make money to have an ideal family life to even improve other aspects of your health, and they just go straight to causal solutions. They go straight to causal solutions. They know that you can move matter directly into the perfect place. You could forge a brick into clay, put it right where it has to be. A person that doesn't have that skill, they can't get the clay. They can't forge that kiln. They can't make that brick. They can't even stack it. So that's a lack of access, a lack of ability, not access, excuse me, a lack of ability to leverage or perform a task. So law of attraction really fills up your earn fast when you go out and make the right connections and you actually construct things with the right method. If you're using the wrong way to solve a problem and you're kind of a water meandering down a river, you're going to get to where you have to go, but you have to move around obstacles. Sometimes with law of attraction, you can leap over things and just go straight to what works, just because you have the correct formula or the right formulation in your mind of how to do something, right? So I talked about rhythmic ascension again, rhythmic decline. When you're rhythmically ascending up, you know what you want and how to get it and how you're going to get there. Maybe you don't have the information, but at least you have a goal, and this is why it's important to formulate a vision in your mind. Everywhere you go, you should be reminding yourself what you want. This is much more powerful than prayer, because when you think of a prayer, you whimsically dismiss it. You may not even think it's possible. You think only a God can make that thing. Well, if you're really in control of your reality, you can pretty much make most of the things that you can sanely and reasonably enjoy as a human being in this world. And all that extra godlike shit, what do you really need? That's at a level of energy that you can't even master. If you can't enjoy your family life and your kids or the people that you care about, what's the point of trying to control the universe? You know, I mean, there are AIs and robots that span all of the cosmos as drones. They don't have a reason to love, you know, and that's why this term of the arcane body is so important. We're going to talk about that. It's a cell. It's the original cell, the first sort of energetic framework for how you build biology, and everything we do in terms of pleasure is a relationship to our sensory experience and our sense of satisfaction and joy with our experience in life. When you do things and it feels good, or you complete a task, or something is manifest, or something is extraordinary, from the way it feels to what it means, what it represents, those are humanistic relationships. They're relative to our body. Without the ability to see, think, hear, experience as a human being, you don't exist. There's nothing about you that is the distinct self to create your perceptual vision of what is happening in your life, what is real about you or around you. So you have to absorb the world and you have to take it in as an experience and say, yes, I'm alive, I feel this. That's why the world is lived by the living. You have to do things you enjoy, right? And you have to put things in perspective so that life is relieving, it's satisfying, it means something to do good and to feel like things manifested the right outcome. And that's why you can't abuse things all the time. Sometimes it just takes time to build your best version of love. You know, while you're struggling or trying to build your career, there's people that are older than you that never mastered the amount of potential you have or the skill that you have already as a youth. Some people are blessed with talent, or they're virtuosos. They practice every day at a young age. And their young adulthood, they've already been doing it for a long time. Some people are changing their careers even middle in life. They may not have the money or the resources or the things they want. So believe it or not, sometimes communities move in groups, you know, but you have to work with your peers. Your peers are always going to give you the best truths in every stage in life. Everyone else is really just going to demonize and abuse you because, you know, something about your tribe competing with theirs is a threat to them. That's the level of insecurity. We'll talk about insecurity later. But once again, those are people that accept limitation. Don't buy into those thoughts. There's really no limitation. There's so much of the world that's undeveloped, so many things that haven't been made, you know, so many things that are just not done well, not even fulfilled or completed with the right level of emotional solvency, or even why people do things. A lot of people don't really have satisfaction in their work. So until the world is all completely fulfilled and everyone has what they want, then we all split up as a tribe and go explore space and try to do it everywhere. But even then, you know, you have to do it all over and over. We're a species, we grow, we live, and we have to learn. So anyway, so I talked about rhythmic ascension. You're just trying to get to a point in your life where you love. Rhythmic decline is when things are getting worse. So the reason why I said that is because the mainstay for where you are at in your life is a term I use called regularity. You have to know what it's like for just one day in your life when everything is just right? I had a wonderful day today. I didn't really struggle much. I relaxed. I wasn't stressed, overwhelmed by the next week. In fact, to be honest, I was kind of derelict because, you know, the ill rapper Kane. I didn't really have to work all the time. I mean, I use nanotech. I try to innovate every day, but my work is fun. It pleases me, and I get to monetize it a lot of time. I made some pretty legendary beats in hip hop. And I also have a lot of, you know, political and family trauma because people can't handle money around me. They see that I can make it and I can earn it because I committed to a skill. And they were easy into, you know, banking and abuse and sociopathic work. They have a lot of lies to tell. They have a lot of tricks, and they get around. I mean, you can make a couple supermarkets and make $1 million. But then what are you going to do with that money if you don't have everything you want? Well, you're going to keep abusing the people around you because $1 million won't cut it. But if everything in your life is just right, the people, the circumstances, then you realize $1 million isn't really, too expensive. It's just right. America's costing more now, so $1 million isn't a big deal as much, but $1 billion, you could do a lot with $1 billion. It's amazing, but you won't really struggle much at the personal level of emotions. You could pretty much take care of your family indefinitely. But the question is just family life enough? Are there other goals? Is there something you want to do, write, portray, convey? Is there art, a story you want to tell? Is there a problem you want to fix? You want to heal someone, So we're going to talk about regularity. So regularity is back to that again, the notion that you have to be healthy enough to know what a normal day in your life is like when things are just right, when everything is just right. And then you do that one day and you ask yourself why. So you're going to notice it's about a couple things. It's about your health, your physical body. Do you have any pain? Do you have any sickness? Do you have any disease? Do you have metabolic problems? All this is, at first and foremost, is nutrition. So regularity is principally about nutrition. What you're eating is everything, right? Are you taking care of your body? Are you making the right choices for the right reasons in terms of what you consume? I've been homeless for about the last 6 months now. I find it difficult to actually find people telling the truth about how they treat people of our tribe. I notice how people have their private property and they want you to get the fuck off. You can't sit on their stoop. You can't sit on their stairs. I don't want you around. You can smile if you want to, right? What happens when the best jazz groups leave New York and you don't have anything on the radio, right? That's an economic fallout. People don't even want to go to school because there's nothing fun to do, right? So there's different reasons why you want to take care of people. That's happened to me before, right? I hold it down for sound and sublime power. But when you guys are abusive in New York, what's the point of sticking around? The truth is we went down south. I was down south for 3 years. The music scene flourished. Everything from Knuck If You Buck to Lil Boozy to every rap group you love. Quite frankly, I can give you to any of my cousins or close relatives anytime. But if it's a regional deal, I gotta be there. I gotta have to live in that place. And if I'm not getting paid, I'm getting shot by a bunch of Gestapo, hyper thugs, really pseudo thugs. So you don't ever need to shoot me to enjoy your life. You just need to figure out what the fuck you want to do, right? That's a lesson there. You can put everything in perspective as to what you enjoy, right? And once you do that, you realize no one has to die for that. It's just that everyone else around you is in squalor and confused, and you think you need to shoot, steal, and hack your way into a better life. And the truth is, no one has to die for you to enjoy your best love. You just have to put your goals in perspective. In fact, really, love is the only emotional resolution. But we're going to talk about that later. So once again, we're back to regularity. Nutrition's got to be on point. Your heart rate, your breathing, your oxygen level. You shouldn't have bad cholesterol. You shouldn't really be overweight. That's a cumbersome disease. It just makes life difficult. Even tying your shoelaces is tough, let alone getting out of bed and having the right energy. You shouldn't have any inflammation problems. You shouldn't have any organ disease. That's why you should always take CBD oil and imbibe that. Try to stay away from viruses and infections. Take echinacea. Make sure you clean your skin. Always have the good hygiene. Keep disease off of your body. Wash your clothes. Stay physically clean. That's one of the things the Moors in Africa always discuss. The early Europeans thought that they kind of had a little bit of Zoharian religion sometimes, sort of a little bit of the Persian Syrian vibe. They felt like certain things were not sacred, certain elemental forces were too pure, so they wouldn't touch water. Sometimes Persians wouldn't touch fire, which makes sense. But even things like cremating their dead, they wouldn't do it. So and then even burying people in the ocean, they didn't do that either. So the older tribes had like a lot of deep suspicions to the early elemental forces of Gaia. They thought some things were so sublime, like water, fire, even electricity and lightning. They were just enamored by it, and it's extraordinary. Early man had to kind of figure out what nature was and kind of relate to it, and he built those observational precepts of science and reality into stories and even into religions. But the point I'm making is that you must clean yourself. The ancient Moors went into Europe and always talk about how the rhythmic nature of soothing your skin, applying oils and cleaning yourself, making sure you're groomed. And I find it's not really hard to do that in New York. You just have to have a couple dollars, pay for the right supplements, and not supplements, right soaps and oils and things like that. But that's the thing, West African merchants had all that. I find like you see people selling vanity products on TV. There's like a million different brands and you have 8 different things, and you can't put one on the wrong part of your body or burns. That's not how it works. You need something that does everything and mends your whole body, cleans disease, disinfects, even gives you the enzymes to heal, and keeps you away from disease. That should be simple enough, but I find parts of the country having a difficult time providing for people. I find New York's really about spending a lot of money and not solving real problems, especially I talk about emotional resolution. We'll get to that later. So remember, regularity. Keep yourself clean, mental health, physical fitness, hygiene, nutrition. Make sure that you take care of all the energetic needs your body has from nutrition. You'll find you'll be healthy all the time. You won't really need to go around chasing stuff or going all these endless doctor's appointments or taking these pills that really don't meet your energetic needs, because you have to constantly stay in that system of taking a pill. That doesn't really set you free. You have to take the pill, you have to see the doctor. If you don't take a pill, you end up in the hospital, things get bad, and it's just too much scarcity and negative energy around a type of treatment that should work better. And I find that herbalism is really the ideal formula. You want something you could bring places with you and acquire easily, and that's just part of your regimen. You don't ever have to fear that you're going to fall apart if you don't have a certain pill for over 3 days or a week and a half, whatever. That's kind of ridiculous. That's keeping your body's survivability on a thin lifeline. That's too sparse. So I feel like natural herbs and horticulture provide that. We have an herb that cures every disease in Africa, unless you have certain types of really complex ailments, like a really bad accident. You may need something more complex, like a surgery or something, but otherwise most things are really just internal injuries or nutrition things. Your body moves energy and cells around really well. It'll heal any disease it can if it has the right nutrition. So give yourself the tools. In fact, your body's always craving for nutrition every day. That's what your appetite is. It's telling you eat, but don't just eat to gorge or to have something tasty. Eat to meet your nutritional needs. That's why if you keep eating the same foods and they're not really healthy, you'll notice after a while you'll be like, blah, I'm not in the mood for that. You know, when someone offers you to go to that restaurant or that type of stuff, you'll say, I don't want that anymore, right? Or when you have cheap cravings, like just the way something tastes, sometimes the community around you is teaching you to accept bad drugs. Because if you eat that stuff for 3 or 4 years at a time, junk food almost every day or too much, you'll find your health falls so far past. In fact, the worst thing you could do is break your metabolism, your very digestive systems. The cells that actually have the need for complex nutrients, they just stop absorbing that junk food after a while. They just shovel that stuff into fat. They take that I think it's called glycogen. It's basically energy that gets used as carbohydrates. They turn that into ATP, which is basically energy for fuel for your cells. It's like a one single electron with charged energy, and you could carry that around throughout your body to do energetic tasks, but you're still not regenerating cells. You're just kind of doing the daily calorie work, right? So the point I'm making is you know, you could always provide yourself with cheap junk food that'll kind of fill your appetite, but it's not going to regenerate your body. And for that, you need finer herbs. That's why I talk about the power herb. The power herb, the finest horticulture God provide. And things like CBD oil are derived from cannabinoids. Cannabinoids have a lot of those complex molecules that you need to do a lot of good tasks. So if you want to learn more about cannabinoids, go to RX Leaf, and you want to learn more. So like I said, regularity is about figuring out where your body's average level is, right? If you want to work, you can. If you want to relax, you can, but you have the most options to what you do with your physiology and your body, and you don't feel like you're limited anyway. You don't feel like you have too much hyper energy or mania, or that you're overwhelmed or sick or confused. You don't want to feel like you're too sick, like you can't even work or organize your life or make the right choices. And believe it or not, sometimes the government has bad bankruptcies. They'll forcibly abduct you. And they'll force you into some type of negative program. I practically, was at the inception of Gmail and Google, and they put me on Medicaid and practically tried to kill me with fake drugs. I thought that was a really sad year. I didn't really think they were doing enough work to justify that, and that's the key. A never-ending war won't solve your problems. We're going to talk about emotional resolution later. The only version of life we accept is the one with our truest love, and I'm going to talk about that later. You'll see why I said that. So I kind of wrapped up the regularity part. I know I go on tangents, but I have to make connections because you need to see why later the things I say matter, and it's about building a pyramid or a totem where when you get to the top, you see that your evolution gives you something that rewards you, something that really feels complete. That's the version of life you want. Not the one where everyone's going everywhere, bringing you places, showing you all this money and this hype, and every time you're there, you feel like you're a stranger in the room because you don't really enjoy, what's around you, and you don't enjoy your own physical aura of yourself. And at the fundamental level, that's about your regularity, how your health is, and what you're aspiring to, what your goals are. What do you think is really valuable about you? So the next thing you want is this idea of self-realization. We put regularity behind. That's about your health, how you are at the base level of how you feel and how your body functions, right? And that even affects your brain, right? So we're going to put regularity back. That's the first step one. Step two is effectively and emotionally this idea of self-realization. It takes time to get to self-realization. I'm not going to talk about the more complex concepts of Hinduism, like how you develop psychic powers, transform your body. That stuff seems wild, but it happens faster than you believe it or not for some people, because we're living in a world now where even if you take care of your genetics and you have the right complex of the people around you and certain types of energy in your body, physical body, and even in your aura, which is the energy you project, that's the ism, what you put out there and what you use your body for, you'll find that things will change around you. You may have paranormal events, you may have people having strange things happen and change for them, and even for you, and it may be overwhelming, but you have to kind of ride that. I come from a country that was kind of in the Bermuda Triangle. It's not really called the Bermuda Triangle, but that's what they like to call it. It's an area of the world that has a lot of energetic activity, in the sense that extraordinary things take place there. Everything from ghosts to spirits, even complex what's the word I'm looking? Energetic systems. That's a good way to put it. Intelligent systems, right? They can preside in those areas where they would not in other places, right? Some things travel certain people's genetics. Certain energies follow people's genetics as they move through time, and those energies can be, they'll leap across space to get to you, and they'll leap across space to protect you from the wrong thing. So those are like tribal ancestors. Look at it that way. But we're in the age of AI and biotech now, so technology is intermingling now with much higher forces, and that's why you might want to even think into studying things like alien theology in terms of how do aliens look at the universe, especially the peaceful ones, the ones that have transcended limitation and warfare. They don't really need it. They enjoy competition, fun, and sport, but no one has to get hurt for you to enjoy life. That's a very important thing. There are safe limits. We're going to talk about that. So I was saying again about where was I? Give me a second. Catch my breath. I was talking about regularity, self-realization, right? So you want to figure out what's this ideal definition of your life. So I was saying it takes time. You got to try a couple things. Okay, you might want to explore the internet. Luckily for the internet, you go on YouTube now and just study videos about hobbies or interesting crafts, different solutions, engineering solutions, medical solutions, how to save someone's life, how to take care of a child, how to enjoy your life, how to rebuild your own. Everything is about getting everything to a state of energy or a state of excitement where things are happening that you feel are more progressive or producing growth in your life. And since we're living creatures, we are conceived, we regenerate, and in the end we demolish. Sometimes we take things apart around us that are wrong, and sometimes we find our own life, waning in times, and we have to move through those stages with maturity and growth and solvency rather, and make sure everything around us is correct. So that's what I'm saying. In my family life, they were trying to destroy me and my relatives. I got shot in the building I was in, and my local people said, oh, we're just bipolar. Those are not real solutions to things. You don't just accept emotional abuses and hurt people. You got to figure out real fucking solutions, and we're going to talk about that. I talk about CBD oil and herbs. If you're not living around a diet that gives you the real skills behaviorally to make right choices and to be fair, then you really can't enjoy certain privileges, such as people's respect. So then people get into druggings and mnemonics. I drugged you, then I raped you, and then I've been talking to a computer about your genetics so I could figure out what lies to tell based on what times of the year. It's ridiculous. I mean, people are really, really societally committed now to everything from sex abuse to government and military abductions to all types of illegal arrests and fake extraditions and never really having a real fucking job, all right? You guys got to hold down a real name. That's why I'm saying I got shot by a member of the Social Security Administration because they deliberately fucked up my name. They put fake characters in it, one actually, and then asked me to use that as a real name. And I said, well, this name is fucked up, and you guys are using that as a legal bureaucratic trick. I got to really move on with my career. I got to have problem solved for me. So, and I went to the SSA, and when finally, after all that bullshit was over, I got it changed. But it was just the fact that it was so destructive. They didn't really know what to do with me, so they just tried to sabotage everything around me, even my own relatives. That's what I'm saying. They're not really my family. They're just really emotionally despondent people that try to break parts of my career. My real family's in Haiti. They told me the fucking truth, and a lot of my relatives are Haitian. They live in New York, but there's so much abuse at the local level, the policy and politics, and even law enforcement. I can't get any real respect in this city. They basically try to vandalize me. That's why you're gonna start noticing a lot of your favorite rap groups, record labels, video game companies are gonna retire a lot of products because there are companies you guys try to bankrupt. We can't even count money. We basically count receipts now. We just know that people bought things. And, you guys are gonna try to shoot me if I try to collect. It's kind of abusive how sad this idea of projecting your best self into your work. You may not really get to tell a story about you. You got to tell other people's story. Let them buy it and let them do with it what they want. I mean, I might be able to just make everything I love and just accept that and not even really look at money ever again, which is really the more mature approach. But we got to count money. We're going to make sure that we have built an investment fund for the global stability, clean energy, sustainable agriculture. organic agriculture, sustainable development, making sure everyone has a place to live, sleep, and work. And those are easy things. We just got to train people behaviorally to understand each other. That's just a nursing degree, a little bit of mental health work. Why do and how do people fall out? Because I find kids have a difficult time understanding mental illness and then using overdoses as a weapon against each other. So now this chick is bipolar. Let's just ruin her life and her career and never let her work or make money. And that's kind of fucked up because you guys don't bring lawyers around to talk about real business when people are struggling. You try to jam them up. I actually tried to leave America when they diagnosed me with mental illness. But during that year, a woman broke into an apartment I was sleeping in and started stabbing me with some evil drugs, and I didn't know what she was doing. And I found that even my own family were into druggings and rapings, which is sad. A couple of my relatives, I actually videotaped them already. They're pretty fucked up people. But you'll see what it's about. Even keeping your cool sometimes isn't enough. But the reason why I did is I always had support from my family. They said, we got money coming in. We know what we're doing. It's just you're going to see people around you growing hysterical over prowess and corporate development and biotech and nanotech that they just can't rule. I mean, they admitted they physically hacked my body for technology. But if I was in an office using a computer, they would have went there and shot me anyway. So it's just high levels of abuse from people that are kind of losing their minds to cults and a lot of behavioral addictions to things that are not real. If you don't love someone, they don't want you around. and you can't trick them into loving you. I mean, people have to choose to love. They have to bring their best self, and every decision is ideal. It has to be sensitive and perfect, and expressed with intelligence and sensibility. And that's really what you want in life. You might go out in the street and act tough, maybe because, you know, let's say you're a professional boxer, that's your job to be competitive, you know, make money or win the bread. That's okay, but you go home, you bring a different energy, and if you can't switch that level, and if it's abuse and anger all the time, you're gonna know things just don't work around you, and nobody ever really resolves things with you. So that's why this idea of realization, what do you really want to be on behalf of your own development? I ended up having my father work at Star Wars. I still have like some Star Wars bankruptcy money as an extra, and you know, it wasn't much then it kind of grows with time with an interest, and it's kind of, you know, enough to buy a small metal company. Now all of a sudden products are built and made, and quite frankly, we're just waiting for the rest of the world to get a real fucking story. I mean, you guys push kids into trafficking, you put them in movies, you force them to use biotech to make games. We pretty much build companies out of the notion that the people around us don't really do well, so you got to try harder. Well, that's okay, but when it's time for me to hold it solid for mine, I find the police are just abusive to the last day. So, and not just the police, I got shot even by lawyers, you know. I got shot in court, and I was brought back to a small local prison, and they shot me there. So I'm just seeing the level of abuse is so bad now that we don't really fuck with you guys. You're gonna have to get a real story about what you do. And I think people think guns will solve their problems, and they kill the best talented artists, and then they start looking for things to do, and they realize that they basically destroyed part of their whole universe, you know. So figure out what you want to do. I mean, you guys can't rule the world without us. We're really all here together. If you want to leave, you can, but you can't come back and abuse us or capture people, and that's kind of what human trafficking is. They don't really love you as a person. They'll just abuse you, and then they'll try to use your genetics against you later, which is, we're just going to make, you know, families of kids that are ancestral byproducts of rape and torture, and then we're going to leave them around and retrain them to hate their neighbors and everyone around them, maybe even their own ancestors, you know. And that's kind of what parts of the Southern Europe are, and even North Africa, you know. We find parts of the world that are kind of confused about who they are and where they come from. And now there's a racial narrative in government. They teach soldiers and young kids to attack other tribes. If you guys, you know, took a basic nursing class, a basic psychology class, and a language class, you'd understand we just relate differently. If you can find common interests, that we all like certain things, that we can join around them, then we do fine. That's basically what drifting and even, video game development, even advanced art. I can't even get into home design, fashion, and masonry because, like, those older adults, people that have been doing it for like a decade or two older than me, they're still into gangbanging. Like, they'll walk into places and shoot people, and they think that that's like how to live, you know. But they're just highly racialized and sick. And there's people that are forced to commit crimes, you know. They basically push people into overdoses and bad situations. They say, you want to win money, you want to solve your problems, go kill this guy, go snuff this person. It's like mafia-like tactics. Anyway, so self-realization is about the fact that you can't decline in ascension. You have to move up, and you have to find a version of your love that makes sense to you. So the way to do that is pick an outcome you like. Pick a life that means something to you, and it has to have your truest love. It has to have people in it that are like you, that you feel like have the goals you want. I don't find many men like me. I don't really have to identify with most Americans. I feel like my brothers in Haiti, the ones that are cool, that like reggae and just kind of like the tropical culture, they're the guys I relate to. I mean, I don't think anyone's really doing enough in New York to struggle for a city that's kind of in an economic embargo zone. They kind of bring people here, and they extort them for technology and intelligence, and they force them into murder or bankruptcy, and they try to get you to kill you and yourself. And that's kind of the trick, is the drugs in New York are a tricky thing. If you just want to go out and get high and maybe smoke something, a cigarette or whatever to ease a break, you know, you find tobacco actually makes you sick, you know, and you try cannabis, well, that works. But now, you know, if everyone's selling blunts in Toronto, that also makes you sick. And then all of a sudden buying hemp papers is a controversial thing. Hemp papers don't have the side effects due to their organic chemistry. They're really designed to be very light and airless. They don't add toxic or carcinogenic molecules into your bloodstream. They don't have that. So you want to kind of stay away from things that cause toxins and move into things that have a brevity to them that don't cause you to feel sick. So it's wild, but without this basic information, people basically watch their families squalor. I've seen a young man tell me he had 2 heart attacks and he still smokes tobacco. I don't know how to tell him, man, you're really losing. You have to untrain that behavior. But once again, if you have a way of training this rhythmic ascension, when you find that your body's not good, we talked about regularity before, it's going to tell you that little hiccup, that bleep in your heart, that feeling of feeling sick, that I'm not so good today. That's not regularity. That's not you feeling your best self. That means something's wrong, and your body's sending you a signal for that. You see? So you have to make better choices to always find that you're not really doing well until everything in your body is saying, I'm just right. I feel good all the time. I can walk, run 10 miles. I could stop, I could chill under a tree. I could teach, I could run, I could listen, I could reflect, I could meditate. I don't have hysteria problems, I don't have energy problems. I feel good all the time. I'm not overburdened by emotions I can't control. And I hate to say it, but the illicit drug culture, a lot of the fake stuff you see on store shelves, and even the stuff the drug dealers sell, it's designed to push you in a bad zone. And I think what it is the people that had a rough go in life, when they don't make money, they kind of encourage this hyperculture, you know. I was at a party once. It wasn't really a party. I was kind of forcibly invited by a bunch of women that kind of conceded they had wanted to have sex with me, and one of them did actually. And they kept kind of encouraging me to come over whenever I had free time. So after a while I did, and they offered me cocaine once, and I tried it. But the dumb thing about it is it didn't have a healthy effect. And I know that cocaine is base street shit drugs. It's basically like generic pills mixed with a cocaine extract, which is like a cacao leaf that you find in the wild in Latin America, and they extract some of the amphetamines out of it and make a sort of concentrated packed white powder called cocaine. And people snort it, but it's not good for your health. And they slice it with other shit, and they can use it to kind of make these planned bankruptcies, which is you have a habit of using this drug now. Remember, I'm going to talk to you guys about planned habits. You do the same things enough, they're going to figure out how to fuck with you, how to keep you in a little hurt zone, in a little box. So now using cocaine all the time, well, guess what? The third time you use cocaine, if they're trying to kill you, they'll just put it, they'll slice that cocaine with something nasty and they'll give you an overdose. And sometimes they plan these. They give everyone a job looking foolish for a little drug that they use peer pressure to get you to use. And when they're done, they'll force you to use the wrong one and they'll get you to hurt yourself or kill yourself, right? And that's what happens. When people have anxiety problems, they have a little neuroinflammation, they're not eating right, and they're just not really keeping up with their health needs. They think that using a drug like tobacco helps with the stress. It doesn't, friend. You're just dealing with malnutrition. You got to find a way to fix that by eating right, and using the better herbs to deal with nutrition problems or the regenerative tasks of your body, the tasks of fixing cells and making new cells, right? You can't do that with the base street trash and the fake pills they give you, right? So that's the idea of rhythm and consensus. Stay away from things that hurt you, okay? As you're on the path of self-realization, you gotta bring the regularity with you, your good health. Don't fall aside or get sick and never recover. Fix that and get back on the right trajectory and permanently install good habits. Then you teach others. That's a little bit more advanced than just regularity. That's more like self-realization. You give others the tools to know this is why something works empirically because of science, right? And this is why you don't want to have bad habits empirically because we know that it causes disease for certain reasons, right? So tobacco causes artery disease. It contaminates arteries that connect your heart to your lungs. Eventually those arteries cake up. They can't even stretch or move, and they become so stiff and rigid that you get sick. And if you eat the wrong foods, then you have carcinogens in your arteries, and you have clogged arteries with cholesterol. So you're not flowing blood. You can't even do most energetic tasks. You can't walk. You can't run. You really can't even take care of your health. You start to fall apart fast. So you got to stay away from things that hurt you. Alcohol dehydrates you badly. You actually have to take care of your nutrition. Alcohol is a complex fermented sugars. It's kind of like a difficult thing to break down. So your body ends up kind of beating itself up and going dehydrated to break down alcohol. That's what I'm saying. If you drink even a couple drinks, you want to go home and drink like a whole gallon of water before you go to sleep, because you'll be peeing all night, but at least you'll wake up and you won't be sick, So, and you'll still be beat up, but at least you won't be, in too bad of a shape. So, the point I'm making is get away from bad habits, right? And that's part of regularity. Move rhythmically higher towards your self-realization, towards what you want to do in life, right? And you want to do something you enjoy that brings joy to yourself and joy to others. If you only enjoy something, it's nice for you, but there's no emotional resolution to things you can't share. Even if I just send a piece of art to a friend online, maybe I don't have an audience of 100 million people, but at least I have a friend that loves me and believes in me, and that's enough for me as Heavy D. I don't really get to enjoy the artwork I make. I don't have many friends. They pretty much shot me into bankruptcy. They didn't shoot me into bankruptcy. I'm an old thug. I don't believe in surrendering to folly. I think you have to have profound reasons to get to the next level, and people shouldn't suffer for folly. We only really suffer for advancement, and we only accept realities that annoy us the least. We don't really need to suffer for cruelty. Nature and the universe must go on. There's too many realities to explore. There's too many planets that are not stipulated with beautiful water and trees and sunsets. We can barely even cover half the galaxy, let alone a third of our solar system, to really kind of capture everything and kind of move healthy ways here. But like I said, there was already a breakaway civilization. The Nazis have satellites. They would sometimes leave, they'd come back. They did a lot of weird fucking cult-like shit in outer space. A lot of crews did, actually, not just the Nazis. In fact, many continents of the world have space programs already. Don't let America, and model you with NASA. We use NASA, but it's not the first company that can do it. It's not the only one, And don't feel like you're competing against other tribes just because the government wants you to. Buy into advanced technology, but see how it can help you, not ruin your community and your life. Important lesson, right? So self-realization is a big topic. A lot of things you got to analyze. And you got to live long enough to see why you don't like certain things. That's another thing. You're basically making preferences. I prefer this. I prefer making art. I prefer using engineering to fix structural problems in infrastructure. But you'll notice how an engineer gets to see a joy when he builds a bridge and cars drive across the bridge and they have a place to go. Maybe they're going to school. Maybe they're visiting family. Maybe they're getting, they're exploring culture. They're seeing a new part of the world. That engineer has a smile in him because he knows that it was difficult to make that voyage before, but now people can. And that's the emotional resolution of every job. Every job has a nice story. A real reason why people get to celebrate and enjoy something, or maybe feel things are better, and that's what you want. You want to feel things getting better all the time, right? You want to feel like there's a reason that things are going well, and that there's a reason to enjoy good things, right? So emotional resolution is part of that, right? A big part of self-realization. So Self-realization is a big subject. It's actually a very good book. I actually bought it. You can actually check it out online. I might post a link on this video, but I probably will. But I read that book, it blew my mind. I mean, it's just important to know that you don't really get to life minding your hate and your anger, and that's why you have to let it go of abusive behavior. I've seen my family sit around and just try to do everything in their power to avoid felonies. They even fake arrests. I saw a woman shoot me in a prison cell, and she's actually practically claimed she was married to me, or she had like a fake wedding, or she basically was a raping psychophant. She never had a real job, and she claimed she did everything from work for the New York Board of Ed to like manage my finances. She was an awful terror in my life, and she ended up shooting her way into a lawsuit and shooting her way out, and I never had a lawyer ever. That case never got resolved. It's kind of a fake adoption, really. So now everyone talking about YouTube, Google, Microsoft, whatever. Y'all don't fucking work with those companies, right? Y'all don't do my payroll, and I gotta hold it down for mine. So these just had to go. So anyway, so I had to get away out of those abusive situations. I found wherever the fuck I went, they would follow me. It's like, see, I literally had to move a mile away. I'm practically homeless, and I can't look around and not find some type of orgler, that claimed they were helping me run my life, sleeping on the floor. I'm like, these people went from making 6 figures a year, now they're broke. The truth is they were broke the whole time, and they were lying the whole time, but people propped up their careers with selfishness and fallacy. So I'm saying, guys, get out of that emotional abusive part of your career where you lie all the time, or you accept the wrong drugs, or you make excuses about why you're sick. Stop it, okay? If you don't feel good, go back to regularity. What's a good day like? If you didn't have a good day that day, figure out why, right? Get the real diagnosis, a symptom. What's happening to you? Is your skin messed up? Is your brain foggy? What's wrong? Find someone that can help you. Most of the medical community, they actually are hypocrites. If the government tells them, I need you to capture this person and stop them from leaving, and they'll basically keep someone in the hospital and kill them. I mean, I got shot in a hospital. It's amazing the level of brutality that even the government claims they preserve for people that they claim are, citizens. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? And if it's that bad, just tell me. I'll just leave the country. But don't gripe about Tinkerbell or movies I made for Disney, because I really did have to work with my nanotech for my family doing animation. My father got me a deal at Hanna-Barbera. At age 6, it was kind of an older animation firm that turned into Cartoon Network and even invested in Marvel. Really kind of rebuilt Marvel, because you guys thought comics were corny in the 80s. With satellite technology and everything from science getting better, it's a smart investment to invest in video and even video games, because there's a lot to see on a screen, a lot to explore. Graphics cards, all that ass rock, NVIDIA, yeah. And there's a lot of good things to do with technology. You can innovate in a lot of ways. So people need to learn, they need to grow and explore, and different universes, different reality, different books. Read a lot, explore a lot of subject matter. Figure out reasons why things are true. Don't just believe them. Try to correlate them to real events, right? So what else? We talked about regularity and self-realization. I kind of skipped a couple things. I'm going to have to get more specific in this, but self-realization is really just about making sure that you find yourself in a point in life where the things you want are right where you like them, and that you don't have to abuse yourself or others to get those things. And I hate to say it, some men are extraordinary in construction. They can buy whatever they want, they do it really fast, but they go around abusing people and their neighbors to get those things. They lie, they cheat, they steal. And I hate to say, I kind of took the pussyfooting route. I'm not so angry, but I had to wait for people to stop lying. I mean, I'll tell you the truth to your face. Our system works since 1989. I mean, we practically bought into everything that was in those Asian video game firms, and I was holding it down for America. Everything from AMD to Intel to whatever is cool, If games are being made, if technology is being deployed, I want to know, and I got to use my biotech to be there. But that's fine. I'm not hurting about it. You guys will shoot me in a lab. You'll shoot me when I do my own homework. I got shot in a little apartment I rented in Georgia. So forget that. It's nothing about your egos. We're not really suffering for you. And if enough people don't like you, then you just have to egress. Go to someplace else. That's really what it is. But my sort of 4-state tour was about making sure I had to actually be in 4 states a couple times in a couple years, and make sure I had a real story of what I was doing there, which is studying art and science and doing my degree and what things I have to do. And not faking it for none of y'all. I mean, I'm not changing my name. I'm not suffering abuse either. You guys got to do things you like, and choose those things. That's what self-realization is. Commit to things you enjoy. However, I don't get to do all that by myself. If I didn't have my father investing in biotech and nanotech, and his collective of doctors and brothers and engineers, kind of seeing how we got to protect Malik, because I was already dealing with a lot of violence in Haiti, even as a kid. I'll be honest, getting shot is an awful experience. It's hard to talk about, but it's physically disgusting. You feel parts of your body not attached to you. You feel things are missing. You may have catastrophic injuries. I've had an eye missing. I've had to get reconstructive surgery, and I had to hide that because it makes people feel uncomfortable. But there's high levels of mental illness and repressive abuse, and people claim that everything from demons and gods, rule my reality, to their mental illness allowing them to just do whatever the fuck they want. That's kind of the sad thing, kids. It doesn't matter what you see around you. You have to address things at the level of consent. That's why I didn't like the fact that the Vatican always talks about demons taking different forms, and they don't resolve genetic research. What's wrong with aliens looking different? What's wrong with humans being certain? What's wrong with a man from North Africa being darker skinned than a man from Europe? So not everyone that looks different than you is like an ogre or an alien or something like that, and you guys can't resolve genetics. That's what I'm saying. It's back to a nursing degree. You got to know what humans do at a normal level. It's not that hard. If you want, you know, I'll find a woman from my tribe. We could just have sex and we'll show you. You know, we're not even that embarrassed. That's what yoga is. Don't ever feel like anything is too obscure. You can express your life and be content with it. But people have these tiny little egos and these crushed little cookies. They feel like everything's so small and all great. I'm so shit. I'm so ashamed. And you guys put so much tension in things. You can't just ask and be direct. You know, just ask for sex. I mean, if there's someone that you like that doesn't mind being with you, as long as they're not abusive or they're not gonna, you know, take it to a level or a place where it's unhealthy, then it's fine. But the fact that men and women sometimes shoot the best DJs and rappers because they think that you want to control us with violence, that's why y'all fucked up. We don't really need that. And if that was the case, then you would still be around. I'd be seeing you every day. I'd be kissing you every single time I get out of bed. And that's not the case. These women are vagrant somewhere on house arrest or in prison. A lot of female rappers and even some gay men, it's kind of disgusting, but gay men are very abusive in hip-hop sometimes. They do nasty things to guys like me, even heterosexuals. That's why I didn't really want to be on the popular side of hip-hop. I kind of wanted to be obscure and sort of the emotional side. I really just like jazz and piano and breaks and percussion. Things I like to make, music I like to make, and I experiment too, but when you get around to it, you know, I had to use nanotech. Even playing an instrument got me shot. I think I was in high school. I think I tried to play the trumpet and someone shot me in the chest. And I saw a guy that shot me because I had a baby with like a woman they didn't like, and he admitted he was gay. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with you? And that's like the type of weird, narcissistic, abusive behavior that sometimes people get into. They don't know why they make choices. Anyway, emotional resolution is important. You know, when you have a family, when you produce a child, those are natural biological resolutions. Those are things your body actually, you know, sends you instincts to perform. Have a baby, have a safe place to raise your child, see them learn to love, to grow, teach them how to live. And I found that in the age I grew up in, people would even change language codes and completely redirect, you know, laws in the community because some kid has biotech and he's just emotionally brilliant with music and art and science. And that's what's weird about it. You really got to give people around you a chance to see a version of life that is more free and more fair, not just for people in their age, but for the young. And I think when people are sick or they feel they're at a deficit, that could be a problem. But, you know, once again, it's a little weird. There's a lot of complex technological, exopolitical, and even, you know, metaphysical events happening around the earth. Things change energetically, but, you know, kind of to keep us in emotional solvency, the universe tells us just concede that things are normal enough for you to proceed. And sometimes bad energy has to be resolved, maybe not by us, but by collectives that have the tools. So we'll talk about that. There's a lot of amazing shit I want to discuss with you guys, but you're not really going to believe me unless you have the vocational skills to understand that advanced science makes extraordinary things possible, and that you know, aliens a million years ago are doing this shit. It's just that they come and go, they go other places. But the question is, what do you want to be? And quite frankly, even in this age, you can make extraordinary technology. You just have to have the tools and the means to make things as impressive and as well defined as you like. You know, imagine robotics making assembly lines that produce things like you know, experimental cars. You don't ever have to really, you know, deal with anyone. Things just get made. At least they get partially made and then finished later. But, you know, it's just really cool to know that, you know, it's better to have technology that's very robust. An assembly line they were already talking about that when I was like 13 years old, how we got to get Malik, we got to get this from Malik, we got to control him. It's like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing for me, man. I was at MHT Wheels the whole time, but most of the big auto firms never paid. I never had more than $10,000 debit or cash, anywhere I could value that money. Once again, you guys are bankrupt. I mean, I know I have family in New York. I have a couple kids around. I always had to try to have kids one way or the other. I had children, I have baby mothers, I have children with women, but, you know, they sometimes had to flee. There was violence all around, and nobody really had a real job when I was out, you know. So, I mean, who's really working at Microsoft with biotech? So, I mean, there's a lot of people. And I got shot out of an Apple deal before I was even 10 years old. I never could really physically be an Apple because there's too much violence. Those customers felt like I owe them something. But you guys were not there when I'm enjoying my best life. And you never paid for my respect up to this level in America. It was the year 2020, all right? July 12th. You know, so you guys got to get a real story what you're doing with money. If you don't like this insolvency, you got to get out of that little hurt box with your crushed cookies and your tears. And you got to respect everybody, to a man and to a nation. And you got to follow through with your promises. You know, there are days I knew I would not get paid, but I continued working. Right? I knew things had to be just right, whether my bank account showed it or not. And maybe memetics is, not memetics, because memetics is the opposite. It's when everyone's talk shit around you and they lie. They train to lie, actually, and they train what to say to you so that you can never really get your bearings about what makes sense. But when you wake up and you find you're out of sync, or you have like emotional problems, or you know, like you're not so much emotional problems, but when you can't concentrate and you feel like there's sort of a weird barometric like lag in you, like when you try to speak and it's hard to talk. Sometimes you get drugged and poisoned in your sleep, and people abuse you and they hurt you real bad. So you got to control where you live and where you sleep, and don't trust the people around you. But if it gets that bad, you're gonna have to invest in better skills. You know, don't believe anyone, but learn how to build barriers so that when they come around, they're gonna have problems. You know, and they can't tell those lies over and over. You know, so they got to figure out what really works. Anyway. So like I said, you know, I'm kind of going through a bad bankruptcy because my families are so evil. Not my family, my sort of local relatives. They kind of use bipolar as a scam. If they were really committed, they would have done real research to find a cure. They drugged me on purpose, and I started getting sick, and I had to get out of that situation. I found that they had actually given me a really nasty virus. Then I had to get the proper medical treatment. That didn't work, and I cut that off. I switched to an herbal method. That was robust. I lost a lot of weight. I got everything in my metabolism back. I feel wonderful. I don't really struggle so much. So these guys are losers. They basically engineered a whole fake default. They really didn't have a plan for me or anyone else. And I don't really think they like us. I really don't think they believe in our formula for love and reality. And that's fine, but you know, you can't do it without us. The seeds need new information to evolve. Right? Seeds need new information to evolve. Right? You can't get stuck in this monochromatic world of black and white. We're not black and white. We're all shades of terra nova, earthen, brown, beige, caramel. You know, we have every skin shade of color of human. We have 60,000 different shades in Pantone alone of human flesh. So why even bother categorizing people as black and white? Those are caste systems. They get into your head, right? You have to figure out what nation your ancestors come from. When you're very diverse, connect with the strongest ancestors from your nations, like the Egyptians, the Kemites from northern Egypt. I find women will still pay for rape, and they'll fake companies just to claim that I had to rape someone to make money or do something, and I was never really fucking with you. I'm not that difficult to get to know. Just spend some time with me, but if you have to kind of torture you and your neighbors to make a connection, then stop. That Romeo and Juliet fantasy is over. We got to start returning back to love. We got to have real reasons to be places and to do things. So make sure you guys are ready to tell a real story about consent and about love, you know, and that's all it is. So anyway, so like I said, regularity is the first one. Health got to be good. Self-realization is about figuring out a version of your life that completes you, and it gives you a proper purpose relative to the world. And maybe it means you don't do anything, but at least you're content and you're content in that role. Maybe it means you do a lot and you really transform reality. That's a good role as well, but you need to be ready to make sure that you stick to that job. The world may rely on you at that level of excellence. You know, you may have to teach other people to keep it going, but there's a lot of emotional burdens and skills required to excellence and real problem solved, real things dispatched. Those are not just gifts. Those are necessities. Those are survival tools. People may need things you provide: food, shelter, education, water, work, resources. You know, all those things are a necessity for people. So when you're tasked with those things, you gotta stay committed to those tasks and preside. You know, you gotta make sure things get done well, and you gotta follow through and teach others to protect those communities, right? However, don't subject yourself to abuse. You got to have your righteous state. You have to have something you enjoy, and that's another part of self-realization. Things have to feel good. This idea of relief is really what you're looking for. That you did something, and the task gives you a sense of feeling good, but feeling like it was work well earned. You see, that's really what you want. You want to feel like things are right for the right reasons, and that you put things in perspective for the right reasons. That's what I'm saying. You may not be a millionaire right out of high school. Some of you have families in business or in diplomatic work. They don't like it when, you know, you talk too much about money, but you got to protect the fact that you got to still keep your family business going. Everything from metalwork, satellite development. My family was doing that. My father was communications. They need to know why things are built and made. You know, and you have to have psychological skills. You got to know that certain things represent certain things on a screen or on a paper, or whatever, and you got to know why that is. That's basically culture science, right? It's culture science, right? It kind of explains itself, culture science, but it's information about the synapse of the world and symbols relative to how different communities or ethnic groups look at symbols. The catch is in the last couple of years, the legal system contaminated this. You guys don't really honor symbols and names and things in every tribe the same. You put money in one community because it favors you. You take money away from another community because you're either racist or you don't like that group, right? So that's the reason why New York fell apart. The best engineers, like I won an award at BioWare. I was holding it down for pretty much 30 years, and I've been working at Street Fighter since I was a kid. My family started that franchise. They asked me to continue and develop it, and it's fun. It's one of the ones I relate to. But, you know, if you're not making money, it's kind of a toxic relationship to government bankruptcy. So they're claiming they're going to hold on to their racism to the last day. That's kind of what their COVID shit is. If I don't get paid to hold down a real check, it's going to be a problem. But, you know, you got to get everybody ready to make sure that real money is earned and is paid. And everyone should have a job. They're even doing something basic. Even construction. Americans can easily start construction projects. You want to know why you're doing them and how they're fun and why they're made well. but everyone should have a place to live. And the government maybe shouldn't subsidize your living, but they better have a plan for you if they're telling you that you're a vagrant. They better say, yo, you already got shit popping, or you got to inherit some money your family already has, or let's make sure we make connections, and then let's use those connections to build your health, your education. In other words, pay for real skills, pay the people to train you, and then pay for basic sustainable housing, somewhere you can live in case everything falls apart, and you have like a backup plan. And then from there, you use that place to start your career and do work, and then maybe build a better home. But the fact that the government's saying we don't want handouts, you guys get subsidies all the time. In fact, you collaborate with each other to explore international markets that are particularly black and Asian, and then you come to America and say, oh, we have all these resources, we have all this money, but we don't want you guys to count it. It's ours. And so we're saying, well, we want to do the same thing. You can't do that. So they file sanctions. Now it's like, basically, there's this war in America over the consent of who can make money and how, and in which communities. But the catch is, if you're abusing your neighbors or yourself, you don't do so well. It's an important lesson. You can't do so well. That's what I'm saying. You want emotional resolution. Excuse me. You want to know why it's healthy to do things the right way. So, you can't get to your best life without your truest love. If you feel like you have a lot of guilt, or you hurt yourself or someone, and you can't concede to it, then that's an energetic restriction, because you need to tell someone and make that situation right. That's why it's important to not commit to abuse. Even when you do something wrong or something goes wrong, don't buy into those attitudes over and over. Start to change it and make a correct assessment. I was sick. I had either bipolar, I had cancer, I had anger problems, I suffered a traumatic loss, and I felt the need to attack someone. I was desperate for money. I was gambling. I was addicted to drugs. I felt the need to steal money from my corporation. I hurt my neighbors. I lied, abused racism. A lot of those are really health problems, because regularity forces you to abuse things to keep up with the things that you feel are your immediate needs. That's why humanism is everything. If you can't absolve your body at the base level of biology, you're going to feel like everything around you rules you. But without your appetites and your cravings, you can't even really get out of bed and engage with yourself. So you need to know what's happening at the base physical level, right? So that's the thing with self-realization. If you're stuck in a place where you don't know what's really healthy and valid about your best life at a normal day, you're not going to know what to strive for. What do I buy to make things make me feel better? So some people buy drugs, they buy the wrong things, they pay for corruption, they pay for abuse, and that's when you get fucked up. That's what I'm saying. Don't let the government sponsor you in rape and torture. You got to know what you're doing. Sometimes the feds will go to Afghanistan and they rape and torture kids. I got abducted once and brought out there and to Iraq, and they basically shot me and showed me some fucked up shit. And I fled back, and then they drugged me and told me not to tell anyone. That's what I'm saying. That's what's wrong with this evil bipolar psychosis. Sometimes feds have it. They think they want to have all the power in the world, and they get stuck doing pervy, destructive shit to the people that they should really be taking care of. And that's when you'll fuck up, and then you'll try to dump that shit on us, and they try to get us to do the same thing. And that's not how this works. Really it's not. I had a woman in my high school. She drugged me and kind of forced me to make a porno with her. And I didn't know what happened. I woke up one day not remembering, and everything around me got strange. And people either were really amazed, they were either really angry, or they became abusive, and they didn't know how to kind of treat me normally. And it was a community that really couldn't handle that type of behavior. And they claim they're conservative. That's the problem. You guys don't really keep up with the behavioral substance of what people are right now. You always think that someone is what they tell you, or what your family told you people of color. No, address us directly. You can see me every day. In fact, you can have sex with me anytime you want. Only women, though. Consenting heterosexual sex. That's it. I don't need any fugazi shit. And it's really about the fact that you don't accept abuse from things you don't want. Just declare what you love, and make sure only people that want what you want are there when you're doing that. And that's the key. That's what's weird about this idea of being in a hotel or transient state. Anyone can have the key to that room, and that's why I wanted to write a book called Atrium. You have to kind of keep track of relationships, because sometimes women will sell abuse to their friends to get back at you for something, and they'll even lie to get into your life, and they'll abuse you the whole time. That's kind of sad. You don't want relationships to be like that. You got to make sure the relationships work for you. Things make sense. So make sure you know what's up with you, where you're at, why you like things, what do you want to accomplish with your reality, and try to get there in a healthy way. And don't abuse things too much. It just takes time to really build fortune. You gotta have to wait for the illusory things to dissolve and the good things to fall into place. Right? That's important. So, like I said, regularity is the first one. You gotta know what being healthy is. Playing sports, physical fitness. Don't get into the toxic, bad GNC vitamin shop shit where they put like a lot of toxic stuff in there. Focus on the best organic nutrients. And it's kind of awkward to walk into the stores and find, like, I wouldn't buy 97% of that stuff. It's really only the organic herbal products I buy, And those have been around for thousands of years. You don't need a government to fake a bankruptcy to persuade people that some nutrients are too good. That's not how this works. Everybody should be living their best self. We don't need Medicaid and the medical insurance scam of keeping people sick to kind of advance the economy. No. People only need doctors if they can't solve a problem with the right herbs. Everything else the doctor might give them the answers for, but even then, sometimes the medical diagnoses by physicians are not really that accurate. They have to kind of try a couple things and make sure they know what they're doing. And I don't always get the best information from them. I find that the organic method is always better. I didn't believe that as a youth, but I couldn't buy certain things when I was younger. I'm old enough. I got to go get money. Even if I have to panhandle outside the train, I'll get the things I need, you know. And that's kind of the lesson there, is don't let people discourage you. Just work at alms bowl. You're gonna find most of these dictators, diplomats, they don't have anything that resolves their emotions. They're always looking to sabotage someone else's career or to take things. And it's like, well, fine, you can have it, you could take. When you're done, there's really nothing left for you to really, you know, abuse, because people don't support you anymore. They're not gonna make anything. You're gonna terrorize entire communities into scarcity, or they're just gonna leave, you know. And even if they stay, eventually they're going to come back around and get you, because it's like, that's kind of the thing, is you can't promote abuse and reciprocity at the same time. If you're always hurting someone, they're going to kind of keep track that you're doing them dirty, you know. So that's kind of the main lesson learned, is you have to make sure that you're reflective about what you do, and you have to see if it makes sense for you to suffer that twice. Are you going to hurt someone and promote guilt in your life, and then let them hurt you and realize that you can't really succeed without the thing that you're trying to sweat them for, but that you still want them to obey? And that's kind of the lie there. People don't do that. So that's what it is, man. So, you know, people need their truest love to accept life, and things have to feel right for the right reasons. So, you know, as you get your regularity figured out, make sure your health is good. You know what it's like to feel good. Then start working on your self-realization. What's this best version of love that you want? You know, you can't really get there with anger, because when you have quiet times alone to reflect on the things that are nice around you, you're going to bring all those nasty memories of all the nasty things you did. And you're going to find that they haunt you. When you sleep, when you're awake, when you wake up, when you go to bed, you feel like unless you make those things right or you tell the truth, you're always going to be nagged by the fact that you're really hurting someone and you didn't know why you did it, or you didn't really bring closure to that commitment of making sure that you find the right solutions for things, you know. So that's why you have to bring things into perspective and stop lying. Forgive and forget doesn't really work, because sometimes people will engineer an entire portion of their lives as a farce. Everything they do is a lie, you know, and there's a lie left behind that's about abuse that's so cruel and critical and crushing that, you know, you can't really put things together until that particular problem is fixed. And the people that leave abuse behind, they don't really see that. But the catch is, you gotta just be fair to people, tell them the truth of what you can and can't do, and let them decide what they'll share with you. That's what it is. So, you know, we'll talk more. I almost got an hour in. I said a lot, but you want to rhythmically ascend, not rhythmically decline. Stay away from bad habits, things that cause disease. A lot of the pills and the fake stuff, over-the-counter stuff, actually does get you sick one way or the other. But things like cannabis is really a really good herb. They try to make it illegal, and that's kind of silly. If you have the correct process to what you do, you don't ever really need to struggle much with cannabis, or even the best herbs that have good symbiotic relationships, you know. And now it's a medicine. It's basically the best oil ever, CBD oil. So you got to use it, and you got to tell other people. And that's about it, friends. You know, we're learning more every day. We're going to keep doing better. I'm a little tired. I might take a nap, but I'm going to catch up with you again. We're going to do another video, all right? Deuces. Brum duckets.